tell you to give me.
Give me the thing with the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
Girl, you know it's important.
Give me the thing with the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
Why you act so reluctant?
Give me the thing with the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
Girl, you know the condition.
Give me the thing with the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
And I need your attention.
DJ Slide.
Give praise, children. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Our Father who has given us His arms that we can all feel like we're a part of this earthly heaven. Forgive us this day our daily weakness as we seek to cast our mortal burdens on your city. Oh, merciful Father, in this bacchanal season when men lose their reason, but most of us just want to whine and have a good time because we're looking for a line because we're feeling fine, Lord. And as we jump up and down in this crazy town, send us some music for some healing. Everybody hand raised. Everybody give praise. Everybody hand raised. And if you know what I mean, put up your finger. And if you know what I mean, put up your hand. And if you know what I mean, put up your finger. And if you know what I mean, then scream.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, this is the Corridor Transformation, your Saturday edition. And of course, as per usual, we have a bumper program. And of course, we will look at some issues that we may not have had the time to discuss during the course of the week. But of course, now that Saturday is here, I think we should be able to at least give some, what I consider to be ample and significant and important and due and just expression of those issues that we may not have looked at. And of course, the development in Venezuela, I think, is very important because the tribunal that looked at the apex court of that country that looked at the elections results has given, of course, the victory to Maduro and the implications of that for Trinidad and Tobago. All of these we will be looking at in tonight's program.
Audrey, you are moving nice. You won't take the doctor advice. You know what's suffering with the flu. The doctor tell you what you have to do. I know you telling me you don't agree with what the doctor tell you to give me.
Give me the thing when the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
Don't you know it's important?
Give me the thing when the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
When you are so locked down.
Give me the thing when the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
Yeah, you know your condition.
Give me the thing when the doctor order me. Give me the thing.
And I need your attention.
Yesterday, of course, enough music, enough enjoyment. I had my fill last night, but I thought I should just give you an excerpt, or should I say an enticement, or indeed a motivation for tonight's, of course, in preparation for tonight's program. Let us go, of course, look at some of the issues that would have attracted attention during the course of the week. Of course, tomorrow we'll do another review. But only to say that it is platitudinous, what I consider to be a self-righteous indignation. So I've combined platitude with, of course, self-righteous indignation to describe the Prime Minister's attempt at sympathy for the double murder, but more significantly the 5 bullets that was pumped into the 5-year-old, literally a toddler, now expecting or at least had been expecting to enter primary school in Maruga, and her life was snuffed out in that way. Of course, there has been a national outcry. The outcry, of course, has been in the form of verbal protestation, but the utilization of the most powerful media at short notice. Even the Prime Minister took advantage of it, even though he is the man who took away laptops and clearly other devices that could have generated instantaneous communication. But a laptop is for the purposes of a school or education, and as advanced by the progenitors or the producers or those who invented, but introduced the computer program, computer or laptops for every secondary school child that would have entered secondary school at the time, with preparations well afoot for every single primary school student entering school it was this Prime Minister utilizing the communicative ability of the laptop, and these days much cheaper, but yet still, when it being introduced by this government, I'm talking about tablets, much cheaper, maybe cut by 3/4, that's how cheap they are. This government still says that you must be subjected to a means test. Not that you do not have the data as government, and you do not have the common sense as individuals who are in government to understand that if a child, by way of simply their address and the region from which they emerge or conduct their educational opportunities, because there are in poor quarters schools dedicated to, of course, addressing clearly, one, the fact that parents will have to fork out sometimes inordinate sums of money for transportation, for commuting, if the school was not in the locale, in the district. That is why the schools are constructed there in the first instance, to prevent the child from traveling long distances. And if that common sense will not be able to tell, apart from the fact that you can look on the map and you can look at a community driving through, just driving through, or watching on television, or any other mechanism that would get an individual in contact with a particular community, especially when you understand that a community can be rural, it can be urban, it can be well developed, it can be underdeveloped, yes, it can be developing. All of these are common sense as far as I am concerned, and in particular the government and government officials have no excuse whatsoever, because that is what we have elected them into office to do. A fellow cannot say that he is a director of a particular state enterprise, and even though he was not involved in the direct election or putting him or herself up for elections, that he is not a government official or does not represent the philosophy, policy of the particular party, although we have had instances, albeit very few, where people, not being of a political party per se, but because of their work, because of their station and their contribution in the society in whatever area, political organizations in government would of course recruit them to perform some task that they believe that person is well suited for, and that the party does not have the capacity. It has happened. A classic example, of course, is when Kamala Prasad Bisesa entered government, and of course a friend of hers who was in the medical system made her the Minister of Health, for example, and there was another, I think, Minister of Education. It just as how Dr. Rowley would have recruited, of course, even though he wasn't active, but clearly from his conduct would have been a PNM. Some would prefer to say to the bone, are talking about delice, not delicing, or you know, all of them lies, but of course Limo, the current Attorney General. So we have had these what I consider to be aberrations, but that is far and few and and therefore in between. But by and large, the political party in office would usually recruit members of and sympathizers and party card holders into their administration for one reason or another. I am saying this to say that none of those persons who may not be directly a part or beneficiary or would have been in parliament, to be more specific, as a consequence of contesting an election, they have an equal and awesome responsibility to discharge their function in whatever capacity the party or the prime minister or the committee that was set up by the party to look at filling certain public offices. They have a duty and responsibility to deliver to the people. I have mentioned the most enigmatic situation with this government, where whilst in government over the last 9 years, they believe that they can abandon their responsibility, their sacred responsibility, their oath of office responsibility, because the oath of office says to do right to all men. And if a particular ministry is responsible for, let's say, health, then one expects that health will be delivered to the masses, because that is the function and purpose of the Ministry of Health. Similarly, when a person seeks assistance by way of UDICOT, or put more specifically and closer to my domain, the East Port of Spain Development Company, and asks for, let's say, a minor road or virgin territory to be converted into a road for access to property, etc., because what was there or what was existing was in fact a track or a impassable scenario where, of course, you may have to cross a river, as the case may be, or a stream, and therefore construct a bridge. Then the function of the functionaries in those, what I consider to be positions of authority and delivery, must respond accordingly, because all of them, all of the ministries, whether it's the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Community Development, the Ministry of Social Delivery or Social Development, the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Youth, all of them have been designed to deliver to the people, full stop. There's no ifs and buts. There is no wiggling room for personal, or put another way, for incompetence and impotence and ignorance as to the role and responsibility of the persons who would have been put in these various ministries. Of course, there are several, of course, state enterprises that could be encompassed in this scenario of delivery. You see, I'm making the point about delivery. I am making the point of being in office to serve the people. I am making the point that every single government, and the responsibility that they would have been given, must be people-centered, community-centered, regional corporation-centered, because they utilize for that purpose the resources of the country, whether financial, material, human, or otherwise. Yes, that is the role and function. After all, then Rowley and them should come in with their own money, since they love the country so much, And maybe sometime in the future, that should be the criteria where people come in, say they love Trinidad and Tobago and they are patriots and they want, of course, to see the population develop and the country develop physically and otherwise, that they should come in with their monies, and that will be, of course, the ultimate sacrifice that they would have paid for, of course, being given the numero uno, or put another way, the responsibility of influence and decision making. Maybe that will turn around people's attitude. I'm sure that people like Rowley and his parasitic and opportunistic crew will want to, of course, not participate in such a paradigm shift. It's too drastic for them, because they see government as an opportunity to get rich, for fame, for fortune, and to rub shoulders with shakers and movers, or captains of industry, or captains of institutions in this country. It is clear. And it brings me, of course, to my original notion that listen, this is the only government I have seen under a man that is clearly evil. Some say the devil personified. And take comfort in telling us that all the population, that is, who elected them into office to serve them, he has turned it around to say that all you're lucky we giving all your welfare, all you're lucky we didn't take away not just the oil refinery, but the mechanism locally for the production of oil. All you're lucky that we giving all you a measly $1,000 for textbooks. All you're lucky that our sporting fraternity and quest for Olympic glory, all you're lucky we're providing, of course, some kind of resource for our elite athletes. All you're lucky that we're constructing roads and maintenance thereof or repair thereof. All you're lucky. All you're lucky that the $4 billion that are being spent on social welfare and intervention for our less endowed or physically progressed or physically enabled citizens. All you're lucky. All you're lucky that, of course, money is being expended in the Ministry of Health. All you're lucky, decrepit as it is, ineffective as clearly it has proven to be. All you're lucky we're still spending substantial amount of money in the Ministry of National Security, and therefore looking after, unsatisfactory as it is, the security of the population and the citizens. All you're lucky. All you're lucky that the Ministry of Agriculture is functioning at all. Yes, all you're lucky. All you're lucky that the Ministry of Education is getting the kind of premier, or should I say, the largest slice of the national budget as opposed to other ministries. I want to, in other words, I'm saying that this government is evil. I believe that somehow we are working for them and not they for us, even though we give them the resources. Let's go to the lines. The lines are open, of course. A pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. A pleasant good night.
Hello, good night, Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
Well, Lennox,
Yes.
you know the madman wrongly say the people at Trinidad and Tobago are stupid,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Let me show you something stupid about these LGBTQ people. Well, I know they're delicate, but Rowley said they're stupid. And listen to this. Friday night, I listened on the news,
Uh-huh.
right? The 7 o'clock news, CNC3,
Yes.
where they say they're feeling sad that how Rowley ain't mention anything about them getting rights. You know how we have this constitutional reform.
Yes.
They had asked to get some rights through some oh God, independent institution.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
I can't remember the name of it.
That's all right.
Trying to
Go ahead.
remember.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Yeah.
they plead the thing there. And nothing, so they're sad. Right?
Yes.
Remember the other night I told you all that the Venezuelans want some rights and that some attention there. And they had applied through the Human Rights Committee in the OAS.
Yes.
And when they attend the Organization of Americas, when they had their gathering there in the United States, I think it was 2 years ago, Kamala Harris had talked to Rowley concerning that. So the stupid part is they still believe in these independent institutions, but the Venezuelans know not to go there. They know to go direct to a stronger organization where they will get help and, they will wait until such time, right?
Yeah.
So this is the stupid part. And this is how we too, non-alphabet people, stupid, and they don't know the rights inside of there, right?
Yes.
We have representatives there. That doesn't say we have to apply to them. I research a lot, and I found out on Google all the information about how you go about that. Okay, Lennox?
Yes.
What I want to say is, you find out the name of the person.
Of what?
Oh gosh, now that I want to ask you. The man, Anthony Phillips.
No, I haven't
What's his
gotten
name
the OS representative. The OS representative for
Yes,
Trinidad. My information coming up is a woman, not a man.
For now,
Oh, I see.
is Anthony Phillips Spencer is the man, you know.
All
The
right.
same one you was telling me about, the head of the
The SSA now. All right. Well, I know that he was stationed.
with him with the SSA.
Yeah, I know that he was stationed in the United States as our ambassador or attaché at some point in time. But I will follow up. I will get the history of this man and why Rowley has so much faith in him across the board. So I will do that. I know that there was something with him at the UN when there was some mistake, and then he said that he was badly informed. I think it's the same OS. So you may be hitting there on something that is significant. But what I was searching for is the current representative, and that is what I came up. And she is temporary.
Her name is Vanessa. You told me the name.
Yes,
Vanessa. She has a unusual surname.
Yes, unusual. But that's all right. Let's go on. We know what we're talking about.
Yes,
and I'm sure the population will have.
And I don't know why she didn't attend the first two gatherings.
Well, it's obvious she got instructions from Port of Spain. From the Prime Minister.
So,
that's clear. Yeah.
So what they did with him with this SSA, I wasn't paying too much attention.
They made him the director, moving out the man who was there before, and he was to launch an investigation into, and among other things, of course, amazingly, Rowley come up with some people within the SSA trying to overthrow his government, and a report has been submitted. He has submitted his preliminary report on the matter, but he's the temporary head of the SSA. I don't know if they have confirmed him in the position. But that was his. So they pull him back from foreign duty to head that particular institution. That is what transpired, and that is where it is at this point. A report, as I said, has been submitted. Rowley claimed the most phantasmagorical Nancy story that you could get. That within there, people were accumulating guns and ammunition in order to overthrow the government. I mean, it was laughable and so on. And guess what? Sometime afterwards, the same employees of the SSA, the fired ones, they were called back now to settle because they were threatening legal action, and they're now in the process where they're talking back to the same people who were supposed to be organizing to overthrow the government. They look to settle with them. Yeah, I mean it's a comic show. Go ahead.
You ever see that man face? You ever see that man face?
Which one?
The same one, Spencer.
Yeah, I saw it. He has a kind of a sort of what was describe it?
Dotish.
Yeah, he looks half dotish one, but he has a kind of funnel face where it pointy in the front, and then it kind of it flying in the back. yeah, a funnel face. Yeah.
I sent a video with him when they put him to be the chair in the OAS council now.
Right.
When he was the chair last year.
Right.
Watch me. He left his bottom like pink.
Yeah, his bottom like pink. Yeah, that's right.
Dotish.
Yeah, that's right.
But he had dotish,
and he wears the glasses. He can't be Joseph. If he is being seen as a key man to pursue Dr. Rowley's what I consider to be criminal conduct against the people, he can't be dotish.
No,
he's a smart. He's a smart. Yeah, he's a smart stupidity. Yeah, man. He's a smart stupidity. Yeah.
You could show the people. You just
I will do that because I want them.
The people see him.
I want to see I want them to see the fun.
Just put him up.
Yeah, I want them to see the funnel face.
Yeah.
Look, I go. Somebody on the next line. You have anything else?
All right.
All right, later we go talk. Yeah, okay. Yes, indeed, people. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Sorry about that. We was having a little fun, little caricature there. Good night. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good night.
Hello?
Yes, good night. Yes?
Yes, LENNOX?
Yes, speaking.
Yes,
you are live on the corridor transformation,
yes,
so I hope is
yes,
corridor you're looking for. All right, go ahead.
This is the first time I'm calling into this program.
All right.
I'm calling.
Welcome, my dear. Yes.
I was forced to call tonight. I was waiting on Monday, but I had to call tonight.
All right, okay.
LENNOX, last night news. Last night was the dancing night. But I found a man cut in half.
Shit.
His head, one place, the torso, one place, the bottom half, one place, wrapped up in blanket. And all
Oh my
sorts of
goodness.
but LENNOX, tonight did last night. You know, we have home invasion in this country.
Yes, of course. Too regular to be unconcerned.
We
Yes.
now have grave invasion. A man was buried a couple days ago in Sandy Grande.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, they exhumed the body and burn it.
Oh, shims.
Reports said that 2 Venezuelans were seen running away from the cemetery.
Oh, wow.
LENNOX, I mean, I don't think things could get worse than this.
No, boy.
This Prime Minister has really made us great again. LENNOX, not in Russia, not in Israel, no Hamas, no white thing, this kind of thing happening. But I cannot wait for in the morning to hear the Prime Minister's statement. He has to say something about it. The Commissioner of Police, Cole Portman, Rasta man, they all have to say something. Yeah, no, this is a frightful situation this country is right now. Thank you, LENNOX.
All right, so that's it. All right, thank you. I was trying to do some multitasking there, and it triggered another video. So thank you very much, of course, for that. But immediately, people, what came to your mind when she mentioned that there's a grave, not the grave part, but certainly the part with dismembering of bodies and so on. What came to your mind? Well, as a criminologist in my own rights, I would have studied, of course, Latin America and the gangs and the way that they treat with each other. Well, a major feature of attacking and, of course, making certain that the message is sent resoundingly and significantly and harrowingly is to, of course, dismember bodies. So clearly there is element of the, and one has to conclude in this particular case, an element of the Venezuelan, what I consider to be heinous, horrendous, frightening, gang style murders in Trinidad. There can be no doubt. There can be no doubt. So people, let's hope that this is an aberration. But with the Raul administration in place and the fact that Venezuela has, through its highest court, confirmed that Maduro is, of course, the winner of the presidential elections just concluded there, brace ourselves for more criminal elements to be infiltrating Trinidad and Tobago from across the channel, if you want to call it that, into Trinidad. That is what I could conclude, and that is just the preliminary. That's just the preliminary reality. So that is sad news indeed. Sad news indeed. And we must be extremely vigilant now to take care of ourselves, because we are clearly in what I describe as a Russian roulette environment, where anybody's number could be called, and you never could tell what will happen on the next occasion. So let us get that straight. That is the reality of Trinidad and Tobago today. It's horrendous. It is mind-boggling. It is frightening. It is dangerous. Yes, people, it is dangerous times that we are living in Trinidad and Tobago. To see that kind of development, apart home invasions already being, of course, what it is, and then to have that development taking place, one has to be. I'm trying at the same time to get a recent video that I downloaded about the situation in Venezuela. But in the meantime, of course, I think I will use a different one that I had prepared for sometime in the past. I thought I would use that, but let me use this one instead, and then of course we will of course extrapolate and look at the situation. Of course, don't forget, of course, the lines are open, 337-6940, 337-6940. Of course, don't forget to share as well, share, as we continue, of course, to treat with these and other matters. But the lines are open. The line, in fact, 337-6940, and that piece of news there certainly is something that is extremely disquieting. But let's go straight, of course, to that video.
The world has always kept a close watch on Venezuela's elections, especially in 2013, 2018, and now 2024. Each of these elections has been filled with its own share of drama, and this time is no different. From opposition leaders stepping down to back other candidates to Nicolas Maduro, the current president, making all sorts of promises for a better government, it's been quite the spectacle. And just when you thought things couldn't get crazier, a viral video of Nicolas Maduro, the current president of Venezuela, doing the unthinkable before the election has surfaced, setting the internet on fire. Watch this video to the end to find out what everyone is talking about. The footage. So, here's a scene that might sound all too familiar to Venezuelans. There's Nicolas Maduro standing on the balcony of the Miraflores presidential palace in Caracas, proudly declaring himself the winner of yet another election. This time, it was on Monday, July 29th, just after midnight, when Venezuela's National Electoral Council announced that Maduro had secured 51.2% of the votes, with 80% of the ballots counted. In his words, Maduro said, "I can say in front of the people..."
Yes, because sorry about that interruption. Let's get back to that video. Very, very interesting indeed. Very interesting indeed.
The world has always kept a close watch on Venezuela's elections, especially in 2013, 2018, and now 2024. Each of these elections has been filled with its own share of drama, and this time is no different. From opposition leaders, when it comes to closing time at each polling station, it's up to the president. The Constitution dictates that these elections must happen by December of that year. But in March 2024, the National Election Council decided to move the election date up to July 28th, which also happens to be what would have been Hugo Chávez's 70th birthday. If you're not aware, Hugo Chávez was a former president of Venezuela and believed to be Nicolas's political godfather. Candidates had to file between March 21 and 25, and the campaign trail was open from July 4th to 25. There were some behind-the-scenes talks between Venezuelan and US officials, which had stalled back in April, but kicked off again just weeks before the election. Last year, the Biden administration eased up on some sanctions, hoping Maduro would allow free and fair elections. The US even hinted at lifting all sanctions if certain conditions were met, but things got complicated when Venezuela's Supreme Court, controlled by Maduro, ruled that opposition leader Maria Corina Machado couldn't run for president. The opposition wasn't part of these negotiations, which seems a bit unfair, don't you think? A former US ambassador pointed out that the deal was a bit too relaxed, with Maduro getting most of the benefits up front without having to follow through on his promises. Meanwhile, the US and the opposition hoped that a strong turnout could push Maduro back to the negotiation table. In Venezuela, the president is elected through a simple plurality, meaning whoever gets the most votes wins. No need for a second round. The whole election process is managed by the National Electoral Council, CNE, and the poll workers are chosen through a lottery from registered voters. Each polling place is set up with several high-tech touchscreen voting machines, one for each voting table or mesa electoral. After you cast your vote, the machine prints out a paper ballot, which you get to check before dropping it into the ballot box. These machines work independently and aren't connected to any network until after the polls close. When it comes to closing time at each polling station, it's up to the president of the voting table to decide if they should shut things down after all the voters have gone through, or just wait for the official closing hour. Now, here's where things get interesting. Venezuelan law allows for opposition representatives to be present at each polling place, and really anyone can witness the process. After the voting ends, each machine prints out tally sheets that show how many votes each candidate got. These sheets are then checked against the paper receipts in the ballot boxes. Once everything matches up, the results are sent to the CNE, and copies are given to the witnesses. Now, the opposition was pretty worried about potential fraud, so they got organized. They spent months before the election setting up command groups, with about 600,000 volunteers ready to monitor every step of the process. They had people stationed at each voting machine, lookouts outside the polling centers to keep an eye on things, and monitors who made sure the tally sheets were printed.
Just let me pause here, because I pause for a cause. I want the UNC to understand what the Venezuelan opposition did. They went beyond the call of duty. Unlike Venezuela, of course, once the elections are declared, and even if the EBC here would want to steal for the government, for the present government, the incumbent, I can assure you that wouldn't settle well. We saw the situation with Guyana, so we know we are still a democracy as opposed to the autocracy and the and the taking over of even the judiciary in Venezuela by Maduro. So it's a different scenario, but we need to pinch ourselves. We had to wet our house, because you see what the opposition did, and that in Venezuela, that is what we have to do here in Trinidad. I want to beseech the UNC to take note as to the strategy adopted, and even in the Venezuelan context, that seem to have gone to zero. But in Trinidad, a different scenario, a different outcome, therefore. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. Calling from Tobago.
Good night to you, my friend.
How are you going?
Well, of course, as good as could be in the circumstance. Extremely worried,
Right.
perturbed, and
When you're talking about the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago, so I want to talk about that.
yes, because somebody said,
you-
listen, somebody said.
you-
The head of the chamber, I believe, in Tobago said that it looking as though Tobago want to take over the criminal record, the murder record in Trinidad and Tobago. I just saying that is what they said. I think that lawyer fellow who is here. But go ahead.
Based on the population in Tobago,
Yes.
and with where the ratio is concerned, Tobago gone clear.
Yeah.
And I will say something otherwise too.
Go ahead.
You see the guarding of our borders in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
This area that they call Tobago East is a total sepulchre, you know.
All right.
There's
Open.
no protection at all
Wow.
from anybody coming in Tobago and doing what they want. And let me tell you something, the Venezuelan coming in Tobago as they want. And let me tell you something, and that's how the gun coming in Tobago is. It coming in with the drugs, and it coming in the gun. I hear this fella talking the other day, and he talking about the guns and then coming up on the Carusa. But I will tell Collis something. There was a meeting in Delaford some years ago, right? When the police and all them was in Delaford Community Center. And I told him, I said the problem that the guns coming in Tobago is on the sea coast. Because there's no patrol, there is no Coast Guard boat to patrol the area. So these things coming in free of nobody to stop nothing. So right now Tobago is full of guns.
Wow.
You understand?
Right.
And Vice Rowley talking all kind of nonsense about Columbus statue and all them kind of thing, he need to get off his ass and see if he could try and do something. Because the first thing he had to do, I will tell you something. When Camilla was there, Camilla brought 2 boats to Tobago.
Right.
Right? One was named the Speyside and one was named the Palativer.
Right.
One was supposed to be at Palativer and one was supposed to be at Scarborough to patrol the whole of the Atlantic Ocean. And the one in on the north coast supposed to be patrolling the Caribbean Sea.
Right.
Since Rowley come, them 2 brand new boats that woman bring from China, they pack up them Shagaramas, you know. So all Rowley and them playing is politics with people life in this country here. That's all he doing. And every time he have opportunity to talk nonsense and do nonsense, he do nonsense. When there's an issue for you to solve, he find no kind of nonsense to talk. What the hell Columbus thing had to do with me and had to do with the crime in the country? Why you don't get real? This man ain't real at all, you know.
And what
He
is
is
clear?
not real.
And what is clear?
Something wrong with him for that brain.
And what is clear, Mr. Tobago, is that just as how he closed down Petrotrin and no mention was made in all of the evaluations and all of the reports, 3 reports, are very expensive reports. Nobody talked about the closing down of Petrotrin or the mothballing of the oil refinery. Here it is, nobody in that report talked about these ships and the emblem as far as a constitutional matter, and he just bring it up just so. The man was really gone mad.
He just bring it.
Yeah.
Lennox, me tell you the fella, and don't stand up no way and deal with no issue. That fella just always talk nonsense right through. That's only from day one. I don't know, you see this as how they make Trump and this one in thing the president and thing. It's the same nonsense we have here, like what going on in America with Trump and all of them, you know, talking and such a nonsense all the time. Same thing in Maduro, same thing with Rowley. We have to get rid of these kind of menacing in our society. They call prime minister, wherever, because they're not functioning at all. They're not functioning. You see this problem about people burning and things away. You was talking about somebody who get burned up. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Over the years, I witnessed that in Venezuela, where a man light a man on fire right on the street.
Yeah,
So
but
what you see happening here?
dismembering
You know,
people.
Venezuela is the second murderous country in the world.
Yeah.
And they're right next door to we.
Yeah.
The second murderous country in the world is
Yeah.
Venezuela. And they're right next door to we. Where expect Trinidad and Tobago to be. And Rowley cannot see that. To share close the borders. Because them fellas coming in free shit.
Yeah.
Free shit they come in through. And he there on talking nonsense about Columbus and Columbus. That man mad. They should put it, he should, that place where he live in St. Ade should have been up in the villa. Where the mad people them is. That's where he's supposed to be.
I agree
He's
with
supposed
you.
to be up in the villa.
Yeah, they should have a special place, a special area of St. Anne's for a fella because he has a special position. Unfortunately, he is our prime minister and constitutionally he is like taking teeth or pulling teeth from a baby to get rid of him. So you have to let him line up there and see out his.
You ever go up in the villa?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
ever go up in the villa up in St. Anne's Hospital?
yeah. Nice,
When they go up there, see
nice scenery.
Everybody walking up there and watching the ground.
Yes.
He should be going up there walking and watching the ground because he's mad.
Caller, hold on.
He's a
I have another
crazy man.
caller. Yes.
So LENNOX, I listen and I enjoy the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
But we
much,
have a
man.
madman running this country.
Yeah, definitely.
Crazy man.
I mean, it goes without saying.
Yeah,
And I think
Yeah.
ultimately, there must be a special place if we don't have one already for the criminally insane because he is a criminal. It's clear he's a
But
criminal.
Let me tell you something, LENNOX.
Yes.
When they was making the place in St. Anne's for the Prime Minister,
Yeah,
the mistake that they make, they should have turned St. Anne's Hospital into that place there.
yeah. Get them a ward there. A special ward there. A
Because
special
you have
ward.
too much mad people.
Yeah.
You have too much mad people in that place there.
Yeah. St. Anne's is known for mad people. Yeah.
They should have been St. Anne's. I would understand that they're mad.
Yes. All
And
right,
they
my
need
friend.
treatment.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, you
Call
have a
back.
good night.
Call back if you have
Stay on
another idea. Yes. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, LENNOX, good night.
Yeah, good night to you.
I ain't getting here no news tonight on Channel 3 or Channel 5
All right.
because it was a party book, I don't know.
All right.
But last night,
Yeah.
the mayor of Port of Spain said
Mm-hmm.
he had nothing against Rowley and then put it up the pan on what you call it?
On the avenue.
No, the pan
On the emblem. Yes, on the
Yeah.
shield of the emblem of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But the man also said, we cannot remove ourselves entirely from our colonial past.
Right.
The mayor said that,
Right. But yet still he said that he don't have no problem. I tell all of them gone mad. I mean, that is an oxymoron where you
No,
have a
the mayor
built-in
for the
contradiction
speech,
in that statement. But go ahead.
but I want to know if he's still the mayor.
All right.
Because once you say something against Rowley,
Yes.
and the man show a Gandhi statue, and all these things, if he just say he don't want to be part of that.
Yes.
So I want to know
by his
if
gesture,
you fire,
yeah. Definite. Yes.
if you fire he has yet.
Right.
And remember William, the former mayor?
Yes. Louis Lee Singh. Louis Lee Singh is that's the one you
No,
want to.
Martinez.
Martinez. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
When Martinez only say we supposed to get guns, it's like as though he was agreeing with Cameron. They moved one time
Yes.
because people had broken into his family's home,
Yes.
and he don't see why we can't get guns.
Yes.
They moved him before he turned was up.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fighting as hard as hell not to remove Columbus statue.
Yeah. Well. Since you're talking about removing of mayors, you could also get removed if you do something like Rowley, because that mayor's predecessor said that the Japanese woman looked for the rape and the death and was killed in the savannah, and he was summarily removed as well.
Well, the women and
So
every vote
things that
against
you do like Rowley did, it appears that you could be fired for that too.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you must check and see what happened to that mayor, because I don't think the mayor mean to say that, I don't think he's sided with Rowley at all.
And that, okay. All right. Well,
Nah,
I'll take a note. I'll take a note, and I will look at his statement to see what we can glean from it. If we can draw the same conclusion. Yeah. All right.
So next year, Rowley will get this statue too.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, playing handsy pantsy with Indian investors, the Jindal scenario
Jindal,
comes to mind immediately, and of course another one where he's looking at having a cricketing academy for another group of companies from India, and then looking as well at the resuscitation of the steel mill in Trinidad. Again, an Indian expression of interest, according to the statements coming out from Rowley's mouth.
Rowley crazy,
I tell you, it's totally mad. And people, don't be surprised as he recognizes that his days are numbered and that it is inevitable he will continue to do these crazy things. What we have to do is to remain sane, go to the polls, and no matter what he brings, whether the race card, whether his illusionary perfection in terms of addressing the crime situation or the economy, you know that all of that is part of his fantasy, and that therefore you must vote overwhelmingly for the UNC to get a constitutional number. I'm looking at 27 and counting, so that we can really bring Trinidad and Tobago back on even keel. Any other information you want to share with us?
Yeah, no cricketing academy. Can't produce no cricketers like Harry Summers and Richard.
I agree with you. We didn't have that, and they were splendid and munificent. Yes.
It's just that you're playing a game, you bowl a ball, and you see that it's the wrong ball, you learn to bowl the next one.
Yes, right.
Even Lendell Simmons, I did that too. And before I go, I want to say condolences to Cyril Dupré family. Dupré died, you know.
Okay. Dupré died?
Yeah, boy. He was 85. I see that on the TV tonight.
The Dupré?
Cyril Dupré, yeah, the man who did take...
Cyril, the man who, the founder of the company?
The man who... No.
The one who's before the court? Is Cyril the name?
Cyril the name.
Cyril the name? That's his first
Lawrence.
name? You sure? Oh, Lawrence Dupré, yeah. Cyril was his father. Yeah. Okay, right, good.
That was one of the greatest businessmen in the country.
Oh yes. Clearly. Rowley turned that to dust. That man is destructive, boy.
Lawrence Dupré died. And I want to say
Yes. Now we talking. Yeah. Well, from the corridor transformation too, and I could take the liberty to say it on behalf of the ground report, we extend, of course, our condolences as well. Of course, I got it from a caller, but that's a reliable one, so I can say that that is well placed and not preemptive. Right.
That's real bad, boy.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see how things evolve. All right?
Yeah.
Yes,
all
indeed. All right. Thank you very much. Yes, people, very, very informed callers. Let me just say a little hello to Kenrick, who is on. Of course, Banwari is there as well. Riaz is there. Who again? Miss Arima. Yes, she is there. Good night, all. Nadira is there as well. Kala is there. Of course, yes, Banwari. We have who again? We have Kailon. Yes, Kailon is there. We have, of course, who again? We have E name here now. Let me see. Kenrick, and there's a K, Kenrick, and then we have, of course, Ethelbert Ethelbert, yes, is there. Duke is there, yes, Ethelbert Duke. And then, of course, so many others. I'm going to be calling the names from time to time. Leon, Nick or Nikki. And then, of course, we have Cassie. We have, of course, CJ as well. Kala is there, 007 as well. We have, well, happy investigation. I think that is something, or that, at least that profession from a cinematic point of view, Trinidad and Tobago could use and will have to use when they investigate, of course, Rowley and others. Don't forget to share. Don't forget, of course, to like, and don't forget, of course, to subscribe in order for us to go to the next level, because I'm going to, of course, make sure that we are on the other platforms, whether it be TikTok or Instagram. We have to, of course, fly, because the information must be spread to all. I believe, of course, in the concept of the Bible that says the message must be spread to all corners of the globe, and then, of course, he will put in appearance. So since when we watch a Trinidad and Tobago and we need the appearance of the Almighty at this time, maybe if we can, by this means, expedite the reaching of the message to every corner of the globe, then, of course, we can make an intervention that will save us from, of course, the wrath of people such as Rowley and this current PNM government. Judy is there as well, yes, of course, and they are chatting as well as, of course, engaging. So thank you very much for locking on. But let's get back to the Maduro saga and this, what I consider to be a biography, but, of course, a historical antecedent as to how Venezuela has gotten here, but more significantly, how we must wet our house as Venezuela burns in terms of elections. Please lower the volume on your device. You are in Pleasant. Good night. Yes.
Oh, good night, Lennox.
Good night to you as well, my friend.
Your partner, but he pull out something, he pull out the last chum, boy. Obviously, you know, when the black coming out to election time, boy.
Yeah, you only black when around this time. Yeah, that's only when. We saw it in 2020 when he said that he's a proud black man and that he don't eat banana and banana is insulting, is only for monkeys and so on. And then, of course, when he called a state of emergency although he gave himself all the credit, he called it a state of emergency in COVID or result of COVID, and their poor performance in COVID, over 5,000 deaths. He then says that if you have 2 bananas, share it with your friend. Now imagine, on the one hand, he's saying bananas is for monkey and he's a proud black man. And when, of course, a state of emergency to constrain our freedom, he then says if you have 2 bananas, eat, because he knows he wasn't going to let go any more money in order for us to survive this tragedy. Go ahead.
Lennox.
Yeah.
But Dr. Earl, a seasoned politician, but we just get them kind of moves and things to pull out by to cause backward and divide and root to conquer in this country.
The man is a seasoned criminal.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, he's a seasoned criminal. He's a seasoned criminal. So that's how they will think. They have no conscience. Yeah, they have no conscience. As criminal has no conscience, they will rob granny coming out from the bank, and the granny will say, "Well, listen, this is for my medicine," and so on. The fella will say, "Yes, I understand," and so on, and still take the person money under gunpoint. So that's Rowley. Heartless and unconscious.
We gotta get rid of this evil. We gotta get rid of this evil. Let's be a number. We can't take another 5% on that.
Of course not. Of course not. Yes, man. Go ahead. Thank you very much for that intervention. Yes, indeed. So, of course, do your chatting. Go up and, as I say, like. But most important, share. We want to get back to where we were prior to, of course, the constant interruption. I must, at this point, tell you why we have been so consistent now. I see that Real Media TT, where, of course, the headquarters of the ground report is, would have been getting some problems. We had to take up the slack. Well, I want to thank all of those who made contributions to either upgrading our computer system here in the office. Yes, right now I am on George Street, and of course, giving us we have a cable system instead of a Wi-Fi system, we have a cable system for getting to the internet, so there could hardly be any interruptions by outside, let's say, interference agents. Let me put it that way, because I mean, we had video problems, we had audio problems, and now, of course, we seem to be carrying the bulk of the work for both of the. We didn't know that we would have been off the 104.7, the radio station. We didn't know, but you know, the Lord moves in mysterious ways, His wonders to perform. He was merely preparing us for this time, and now we are doing some wonderful job on the social media platforms, and of course the corridor transformation has been leading the way in that regard for the time being, at least. So have a wonderful one. Of course, the caller that called just now, my apology, I wasn't able to engage quickly enough, but you can call back. Let's continue with, of course, the situation in Venezuela. Very interesting indeed, and of course people are extremely perturbed about what is happening there. But I want you to take away tonight some of the preparatory work of the opposition in attempting to offset and to preempt the Maduro. And of course, you can, when I say Maduro, equate Maduro with Rowley and what he's prepared to do. He is not a Democrat. He always seeks unfair advantage, and he wants to make certain that he locks in such a way into the system that will give him the advantage and the outcome that he, even though the population is thinking otherwise. Let's continue.
And sent to outside locations to be scanned and uploaded to a central cloud. In fact, they trained 90,000 representatives to use a custom-made app for reporting results and any irregularities. These volunteers managed to get over 80% of the tally sheets, uploaded more than 24,000 of them, and used the QR codes on each one to tally the votes. On March 16, 2024, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, that President Nicolas Maduro would be their candidate for the upcoming presidential election, marking his third attempt to secure a 6-year term. Maduro filed his candidacy.
So let's say the party that Maduro is head of, the United something. Let's say it, because for the first time I was aware that he in fact was a member of a party, and of course the same party that his predecessor Chavez would have been part of. Let's say it.
Is up. The results are sent to the CNE, and copies are given to the witnesses. Now, the opposition was pretty worried about potential fraud, so they got organized. They spent months before the election setting up command groups with about 600,000 volunteers ready to monitor every step of the process. They had people stationed at each voting machine, lookouts outside the polling centers to keep an eye on things, and monitors who made sure the tally sheets were printed and sent to outside locations to be scanned and uploaded to a central cloud. In fact, they trained 90,000 representatives to use a custom-made app for reporting results and any irregularities. These volunteers managed to get over 80% of the tally sheets, uploaded more than 24,000 of them, and used the QR codes on each one to tally the votes. On March 16, 2024, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, officially announced that President Nicolas Maduro would be their candidate for the upcoming presidential election, marking his third attempt to secure a 6-year term. Maduro filed his candidacy on March 25th. Meanwhile, González Urrutia emerged as the opposition's candidate under the unitary platform. The CNE, also the National Electoral Council, disqualified 16 political parties from nominating candidates because they didn't meet the required 1% vote threshold in the 2021 regional elections, and frustratingly, they didn't even offer the usual process to fix or validate these votes, which is required by law. By July 2024, most of the polls were showing González Urrutia as the clear favorite, especially those from well-known pollsters in Venezuela. One exit poll by Edison Research indicated that González had 65% of the vote, with Maduro trailing at 31%. You might be wondering, why did the people of Venezuela prefer the opposition to Nicolas? Well, the answer is very straightforward. It was because of Urrutia's promises and what was at stake for them if Nicolas won the election. A potential win for the opposition opened up new possibilities for democracy and political stability in Venezuela. González Urrutia had promised to rebuild independent institutions like the courts, legislature, and government agencies, bring back freedom of expression, and free nearly 300 political prisoners. But there was a flip side. Some pollsters warned that if he lost, the opposition might be wiped off Venezuela's political map, making...
I want to tell you why we are playing this, because if your neighbor's house is on fire, the concept is you must wet yours. You learned as to what the opposition in Venezuela did. I beseech and urge the opposition in Trinidad to do the same. Monitor those police vehicles that would be delivering ballot boxes back to the not just to EBC, but also to the returning officers, where the final count will be engaged in for every single constituency, all 41 in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm going as far as that. Follow them. Because that is what the Venezuelan had to do. Apart from the usual, of course, having your people in the polling stations to, of course, witness the count and any irregularities. Of course, I am assuming that another layer of protection will be the presence of international observers here in Trinidad. We have to insist on that before the election itself would have been executed. So during the campaign, we want them here, not just for the election day. So they will get an appreciation as to some of the shenanigans of the PNM and the Rowley. And as I said, apart from the mock stations and so on that they'll have to set up, as traditionally is the case, but we know the role of the EBC in recent developments. The THA elections must be uppermost in our minds. When Rowley went with his slim majority to get an additional 3 seats, and the EBC divided up, of course, those electoral districts from PNM dominated electoral districts, but the people decided that they will have none of it. And so it's 14-1 in the tail. They're lucky they get one. PNM are talking about. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night.
Yes, Lennox. Good night again.
Yes.
Well, Lennox,
Hey.
that's what you're asking the UNC to do. They ain't doing that, you know. Them don't really hear people like you and me, you know.
Well, they will have. Who can't hear go feel?
It's years I talking about that OAS and the rights we have in there. They feel it's only the Venezuelans have rights inside of there. Right?
Who can't hear go feel?
Go to in the OAS is the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights.
Yes.
Oppositions could apply there. Right? It's independent. And no ambassador for this country have to inspect that to say, you know, they will stand it down. No. I would like you to Google it.
No, I am aware. I'm aware with that of that issue. I've been writing them for quite a lot of time for different people, including, of course, persons who would have been unjustly.
I ain't talking about you. I know you.
No, I'm saying I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it.
I'm letting these citizens who are not so on to these kind of things know that they don't have to have fear, right?
Yes.
That if they apply, that it have independent bodies there and it's not biased.
Yeah.
Right? We have to teach them how the organization does operate. It's a courthouse. It does have a head. They call it a chair. And it have other countries giving their speech and making their decisions by voting on certain issues that countries have. Right now they're focusing on Venezuela a lot these days and giving out some dread orders. You get the news that the court there in Venezuela accept, right?
Yeah.
Maduro as the president.
Yes.
But it had another meeting and the OAS decision is to have him arrested, and imminent arrest is out for him, right? Luis Milagro, which is the Secretary General, gave that order. Several countries in the organization against that decision. The other day, Lula da Silva was saying he would like them to come to a decision to have a re-election.
Yeah.
The opposition stand it down, right?
Yeah.
Maduro said yes, he could go for another election. But Maria Corina Machado, she stand it down. She's a strong opposition.
Yeah, she in
It's
fact
time
is the
for
leader.
our opposition to wake up and go there. Camilla know everything all about these things. She's a lawyer. You hear? So what you could do to educate the people is to research it and get the information, and you could use the artificial intelligence to read out all the information to the citizens of this country. People have to be educated on these things. We have plenty rights inside of there. They could come to some decision with this man. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Ambassador there, right, is the one to see how we could defend all of them other countries inside of there, right? It will have who for and who against whatever complaint she put forward there. But after the voting and all the speech given with these ambassadors, whether they get 5 minutes to talk on the issue, the Secretary General, right, Luis Milagro, he just put some harsh measures and decisions. So we want the opposition to know that it have smart people inside of here. Rowley say we stupid, but it have who know and they ain't talking. One more thing about what's going on with these Venezuelan people inside of here. I was preaching long time I preaching, and everything bust up now. All they had to ban all their waste. People going and ball inside of here right now. It have who encourage them here, who love them, right? And who tell themselves they're looking like them, right? So, Tobago, all they pray, watch, and try and take care, because all they're small over there. It will storm all there like a thief in the night. I see it, you know. I see in civil war. I see in it. Who don't want to hear will have to feel. Citizens of this country are talking to all. They ask the opposition. They in charge inside of here when our government fails. Let them approach the Organization of America's, the Human Rights Committee, to see what they could do with this country. They will work for us, right? Otherwise, it will get more heated inside of here. We don't want no civil war. We have a race war, and we're fighting against each other. We have nowhere to go. Other countries out of here next door is Spanish they're talking. We can't talk that. The currency low. We can't go there to work to send home any money for family like how the Venezuelans doing. We have to guard and protect here. We need international help right now. Try and educate all yourself. Okay, Lennox.
Thank you very much. Night. Yes. And I want to tell people that talk is not alarmist. That talk must be taken very, very, very serious. And she is so correct. You see, since after the Second World War and the creation of the United Nations, and of course within that family of institutions, there is the Human Rights Commission based in Geneva. And in the operations of it and the bringing of information of human rights violation, they made certain, as is the case with the OS, as the case with the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights, as the case for other United Nations bodies, individual rights and recognition is given equal standing as a nation. So a government can write them, in other words, and an individual. I am appealing to those persons who have the gift of the pen to find out, and I'm going to make it available as well. You can call, of course, here, the same number, 337-6940, and I will give you that information. I have my assistant who would be too glad, and she will have a list of those institutions, and you can write. You can send emails. Of course, you must outline to get any attention, but if it comes in sufficiently from a critical mass of the Trinidad population, for example, I am certain that that attention will be paid. Attention will be paid, I'm certain. Just give me a moment. Hello? 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 Yes, speaking. Hello? Hello? Hello?
I'm calling from Guyana. You hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
They had the American ambassador in Guyana put out I think this morning, you can Google it and see information this morning. Only 2 CARICOM countries signing to the democracy levy what going on in Venezuela right now. Guyana and Suriname. No other CARICOM countries signing to the American democracy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you Google it, you will see it. They sent out this morning.
Yeah, that's coming out from the OS website or platform?
Yeah, the OS.
Yeah, okay.
The Guyana ambassador do it. Because if I get a site on your WhatsApp.
Yes, send it from me, please. I will really, really appreciate that, because this thing is getting really
only 2
horrible.
countries.
Only 2 of them.
She had a press conference, yeah.
Yes.
But she had a press conference yesterday, and she said only 2 countries signing, Guyana and Suriname.
Wow. So
the
CARICOM generally is prepared to have that, what I consider to be threat to our civilization, be
and democracy
and democracy as well. Yeah, one go intermingle. But the fact is that they do not recognize the human rights violation in that country, right? And the threat the undermining of the electoral process.
Plenty other people listening, right?
Yes.
Plenty people listening for your program, and they'll call in us to tell you that what I'm saying is facts. But I'm trying to see if I get the press.
Yeah, get it for me and send it, please. Thank you. And how is Guyana going? I know that you all are doing well economically.
Yeah, by trying to save Trinidad, Trinidad is the second country. We're really sorry for that country. I lived there for a while, but oh shit.
Oh yeah. We in a sad state.
I started good Trinidad. I'm afraid to come there now.
Yes. It's sad. All right, and it's all because of one group of persons. As soon as we get that, I think we're beginning of the process of reversal. All right, thanks very much for calling from Guyana, and tell all the Guyanese to, of course, spread the news, like, and of course share. Thank you for calling from Guyana.
Yeah, brother.
All right, bye.
Good work, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye. All right, people. So here we have, of course, a Guyanese calling in. See that see something here, Dupree. He sent something already. So people are working. People are very concerned as to what is happening in Trinidad, and of course, and you see, he had some brief nostalgic moments. So when he said that he lived here for some time, and of course, we have been accommodating most of our CARICOM friends, irregardless of their situation in the past. And now, of course, Trinidadians are going to Guyana, businessmen, etc. And of course, it appears that the situation has been reversed. I don't expect, and I have not seen any evidence, as we have seen from that call from Guyana, that the Guyanese are any more prouder than they were before, and when we were accommodating many of them here in Trinidad. I think the major part of the migrant population at one time, there was an argument, there was a survey that says it was Guyanese, while people were concerned about, of course, Nigerians and from other African countries. So it is nice to see that the Guyanese are taking note of what is happening in Trinidad, even if because of their past relations and their belief that they should be demonstrating some concern because of what probably they have benefited from Trinidad in the past. But I think what is to take away from this particular call is that they have recognized that the administration has not done what it ought to have done. It was not sufficiently preemptive. It was more reactive to what has been developing, and it has become idiosyncratic and stereotypical of this government to react to significant developments that the opposition would have alerted them to. It was the opposition that alerted them to the impending crisis as far as COVID is concerned. Not once, not twice, 3 times in the parliament, and the authorities refused to debate it. And we see the similar situation, including, of course, the current situation with dengue, and now, of course, the crime situation.
Stereotypical of this government.
Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Well, of course, as good as could be in the very trying situation, both current and pending.
But usually, not all this government do what they have to do for the country. I think they do what they have to do for themselves. That's what they went in there for.
Well,
all of them went in there with their pockets empty and they come out with their pockets full.
That is sad.
Up on these ministers and them.
That is sad, because where they will go and spend all what they have illegitimately or illegally acquired. You have to stay right here. So they have literally burnt the bridge that benefited them in getting to where they are, or burning it because it's current and continues. Go ahead.
You're surprised to see what these fellas are going to do if anything happens here. They do like Houdini and this stuff here, and you wouldn't know where they're going. There are all these people and them.
They can't go. Panama is a small world now, man. Them living in a fool's paradise. But go ahead, my friend.
Like, up in Guyana, I see a house selling for like 200 and something thousand Canadian money. So this is in millions. But if you convert it, it's like 200 and something thousand for a house and anybody. So you can see plenty people gravitating and going after here because the crime situation here is overbearing.
Yes.
I mean, you don't know what's on the road for you. You might as well go and say your prayers and ask God to feed your soul, because at the end of the day, you never know if a bullet coming out on the neck. This coming out, guns for hire, extortion market, you name it, this country that everyone paralyzed when it comes to that. And so I know what people do. They had a way of them money and they don't see any reason. And nobody they talk about that. They will not blame everything on Charlie, American and nonsense. So there is them to go that this CNN regime or transmigration or coming out together, right? And these criminals they come like an East-West corridor state now. Because the road don't go out there, by the end of the year, they might probably reach our photo. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the moderation, somebody can understand that is a total subject. Because that's what they're going to be action now, they have any miracle too. So I don't know anything about Ola and Tildon and Tilly, Hines and Scotland, because I can tell people, them like, I used to, when they could be making noise. right?
Yeah.
And nothing is doing. The population has to see what is going on here now. When an election call, a big regime want to put themselves up for election, all you have to refuse these people and put them back there. Because if you want to stay and they can't go anywhere, or they copper smoke, or they fight, because the criminals of them, let up. I tell you what happened to me this week. Somebody, right?
Yeah.
Operating a drone.
Yeah. I find you talking, like you're too close to your mic or something, because I got in a sort of distortion. Yeah.
Right. You hear me now?
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Somebody operating a drone is in my yard, sticking out in the house.
Uh-huh.
So the criminals that they have coming yard now, and them taking a distance, standing a drone in your place, and it's scoping out all the other, which are the other part.
All right.
These criminals gone scientific now, technological wise. So let the police and put in the pipe and see people coming out with keys in your house. They don't do that no more. They turn in drone. And before you know it, they know who to come and interfere with and come around. So I want people to be aware of these things. These criminals, they turn in drones to take pictures of your place or videotape it, whatever they're doing, and then they're planning for you.
Yes.
So I'm going to
Yes, there's a methodology that they are adopting that is almost foolproof. It will invade, of course, the authorities as well. Yes, very, very interesting. And, you know, whilst he was speaking, I couldn't help but, of course, take note of the Guyanese caller. And it dawned on me, not only is CARICOM Secretariat based in Guyana, but I think that what he advanced there, that only 2 CARICOM countries, Suriname, I think they had observer status at one time, but I think that they probably is a full-fledged, I will confirm that, full-fledged member of CARICOM. But regardless of that, I think every single CARICOM country, if it is that decision of not attending or voting to resolve that situation in Venezuela, because clearly the Maduro administration could only attract further disaster and terror for Venezuelans. And that prospect alone, because we have the sanctions that will not be lifted, in fact it would increase. We will have, of course, the Iranians and the Russians and the Chinese making a greater stride and invade, for want of a better term, Venezuela. Because, of course, let's face it, it sits on the largest deposit in the world from all the experts of oil and gas, even though, of course, that is a commodity based on the Paris Accord, are talking about the environment and the climate change scenario that requires that carbon deposits no longer be the fuel of the future, to fuel the energy needs of humankind, and therefore sustainable energy must be the focus. But in the meantime, we have not yet gotten there. I think it's 2025, 2030, thereabout. And therefore, in such circumstance, I'm making the point that every single CARICOM country citizen must now write to the OAS and express their concern that those governments are not representing their position, because it's we who are feeling the pressure when we have to compete in our respective region and our respective countries with Venezuelans for work, for food, etc. And therefore every single, and I will lead that charge from right here in Port of Spain, that every single CARICOM citizen from Jamaica in the north to Trinidad and Guyana in the south, and of course Suriname, that they write to the OS expressing their concern about the government's position, that it's not the people's position, because they have plunged the Caribbean, CARICOM, into further jeopardy with the unrest that is taking place, that will take place, that will intensify in Venezuela. I think that's a fair position. And as I was saying, every individual can, of course, write to these various institutions simply because of what transpired coming out of the Second World War and the creation of the United Nations, and, of course, the fact that a single person can create conflict between one state and another and generate a world war, as we are seeing, of course, with Putin. Then it means that, therefore, all of us have a duty to just write. So all of us who are familiar with the pen, who, of course, can put sentences together, I'm sure, and annotate your experiences and send it out there to the OS. As I said, I will put up the listing of institutions that you can write, the addresses and so on, including email. So you can stay right home and, of course, express your concern. As a citizen of CARICOM, and I'm talking here CARICOM in its broadest sense, all of the countries that comprise. When I do the research and I am convinced and confirm that what the Guyanese has said, I have no doubt in my mind, but at the same time I need to have my own independent verification. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hi, good night. Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
Everybody in the live. Good
Yes.
night, Tobago.
Good night.
Mr. Lennox,
Yes.
I was listening to Mr. Rimas when she was speaking earlier on.
Yes.
And the woman is quite right, because one of the dangers I think that we have to look at regionally and maybe internationally as well,
yes,
is the fact that what I'm seeing is that Maduro, right? Maduro is talking about handing over like the oil and so forth, because Venezuela is an oil-rich country.
Yes.
Right? The certainly largest deposit in the world, right?
Yes.
Well, here we're going on. They want to join BRICS. So that could be a serious issue there now, because that is like I said, a threat to the West. So
right.
so all these things seems to be just
escalating out of control. Yeah. They are now reconfiguring the international world order. That is the intent, because BRICS was supposed to be developing emerging economies. Frankly, that is how the term came about. And of course, B for Brazil, R for Russia, C for China, and S for South Africa. And there's an I in it. So India, yes, and
India, yes,
and in inside of that, they came together as a consequence, called themselves BRICS, and now they are expanding and incorporating other countries. And I have no doubt in my mind you are right, because Iran, other African countries, as well as some of the one or two of the Latin American countries would want to gravitate. Mexico, for example, because it provides opportunity for them to even develop their own foreign exchange or common exchange money, because they are resource rich. That's the point I'm making. Resource rich, whether it's gold, whether it's oil, yes. So it's a development that we must be concerned ourselves with.
We have to get these bunch of parasites out of this out of office,
Yeah.
Because these fellas are sucking the country dry, You see the kind of destruction that this evil PNM has brought to Trinidad and Tobago within the last 9 years or so.
Yeah.
Nothing works.
Nothing.
Everything is in that state of chaos.
Yeah.
And we have to get rid of those people.
Yeah.
Because they are killing us. You understand?
Yes.
You tell me you the Prime Minister of a country, and you imagine your seafront, your borders, you have it exposed that every Tom, Dick and Harry can walk into a country like Trinidad and Tobago, a shopping mall. Right? So this is very rich, and we have to get these evil people out of office, because if we don't, Why Crapo spoke with 5 years? Mr. Saigon.
Yes, yes. The only thing I didn't agree with Miss Arima when she made a presentation, the fundamental, the essence of it, solid as a rock, is they looking like we talk, and if it is extended to Tobago, I don't think you could really say looking like we there, because there is a homogeneous, originally at least, population there. Fundamentally Africans, the vast majority. The Indians can't even reach close to that. So to say that they're looking like we, I think is not applicable there. However, I take note of the fact that because of the porosity or the porousness of the borders, and the fact that they are unmanned, what may be happening is that they're using Tobago as the landing port, and then of course somehow getting their contraband to Trinidad now that they are in Tobago, because of course between Tobago and Trinidad, you could say, because of the international arrangement, the law of the sea, and the economic zone, the economic zone that every country has in terms of the ocean and the seas, they could easily move from Tobago to Trinidad on whatever vessel that they wish, and therefore bring to Trinidad their contraband that way. That I could understand clearly and rationally. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Yes.
I was watching the news, and this Terrence thing,
Uh-huh.
blaming the people for the outbreak of dengue,
You're surprised?
Blaming the people for not keeping the something clean.
Yeah.
Right? But he and the ministry, right? There is a point from monkeypox and there's a point from donkeypox.
Yeah.
Right? Donkeypox he has. Because that man coming and saying this is foolishness about people in the yard, and he and the ministry can't screen people properly. Because a young girl, a little child, when they get screened and they send the little child home and the child die,
Yeah.
and you are to wait 5 days before you have dengue.
Yeah.
Man, if it is at all, you have to get sick with any kind of dengue. Also go and take all the bush medicine here. I see this thing is good, cocoa leaf, the male cocoa leaf, you blend it up, and you drink the juice of it, and that is increasing platelet. Because a friend of mine tried that, there was one time in hospital.
Oh my goodness.
He saw that in 1 day time, the man recovered.
All right. Okay. Well, people, that's a remedy that you could consider if you want to prevent from yourself from going into one of these institutions in Trinidad, because when you go there, it intensifies and exacerbates the illness that you would have had. And when you come out, you're either badly wounded, you're worse off, or you die on the floor and or a bed in the hospital. That is how bad things are. So thank you for that information, and I would like you to, of course, repeat it again in a future contribution. Go ahead.
No, that's really bad in the hospital. Have overcrowding and people there with these cases, and they can't test everybody at the same time. That's the problem there. Terrence is saying that. And before I go, I see something in the news that is shocking me.
Go ahead.
They buried a man last week, right?
Yes.
And some people are going to dig up the man's body and see.
Yeah, the caller from Diego Martin or Pidi Valley, I think, as we started, she mentioned that she said, well, the Robin grave now, as well as, of course, dismembering people as part of the murderous spree that is taking place in this country.
This is a demon possessed when I see these things.
Yes.
Demon possessed people running around doing these things. And this all sense on the Prime Minister when he say he went local too. He kick it off.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Yes, thank you very much again. And I'm sure that you are hearing, you're still coming across not articulate because there's a slight echo or something that is getting the voice sort of rusty, for want of a better term. So please, see, I believe you're probably too close to the mic because your contributions has always been one that we revere here, and we will continue, of course, to absorb, but we need to be totally the benefits or the beneficiaries of what you would present. All right, so people, I think we have looked at the situation at this point in time. A lot of new information coming in, which is tremendous. Let me just quickly look at the. Okay. See a note come up on the system here, so hoping it's not the. Right. Okay. Right, that's all right. Let me just take a look at some of you who are chatting. Of course, Leon is there. Nike is there. Nala is there. Riaz is still there. Miss Arima is still there. Who's that? Ethelbert is still there. But let's go straight to the lines as well. Let's go to the lines and hear what the caller has to say. President, good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. Silver Fox here.
Silver Fox from Tobago, boy.
Yes.
Tobago is highlighted tonight, boy.
Yes, man. Rowley must go, man. Rowley has to go.
Yes.
Lennox, you see, we sit back and just looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't understand what is taking place.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know the arrangement with Rowley and Maduro and having these people here.
Yes.
Right? But when I look around and I see property tax come and I know the majority of people can't pay that. I know the Venezuelans ending up with them people property. So in the ending, Trinidad and Tobago will be at Trinidad and Tobago just now, you know. Rowley come here to destroy us. And we sitting down every day talking. Lennox, it's time to get out there. Lennox is frustrated. Rowley frustrating people in this land. We will have to kneel down and beg this man back to slavery. We right back into slavery again, you know. Look how much people fight for slavery to be abolished.
Yeah,
and Rowley bringing us right back into slavery again. But is that Rowley bringing us back into slavery? Is we bringing ourselves back into slavery because we are not standing for what is right? Look how much people dying, look how much babies dying.
Yeah, boy.
And Trinidad and Tobago stand still. Them are taking it on because it's not them baby. Right? We supposed to be get out there and fighting for the rights of our people. What next? What next in this? What next for us to do? I asking Trinidadians now. When time come, or you go no carnival, or you go something else because Venezuelans taking over the whole of Trinidad and Tobago. We will be a lost island in this world. We will lose everything we have because of Keith Christopher Rowley, that Lucifer from Tobago. That person of the vote for think is a human being. Oh God. As some dogs say, God help us all. God help us all. Thank you, Lennox.
Yes, indeed.
God help us.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, you have to call on the superior one, the superlative one, the higher being. Some people do that because, of course, this is an argument for the recolonization of Trinidad, essentially by Venezuelans. And they are going to, of course, make use of the opportunity. After all, they are human beings, and that is how humankind, was able to spread to all nook and cranny of the earth. It started, of course, according to those who are versed in the not just genealogy, but also the whole question of human evolution and societal arrangements. And they started in Africa, and of course through the north, and then of course get across to the Western world, etc. And the history of humankind is the history of colonizing or settling in different parts of the world, and then of course adopted certain cultural norms. And of course, no doubt, the Venezuelans, once they settle here, will come with their culture. One of it, as we have read, is the whole question of gangs and how they treat with their enemy or their differences by dismembering. And of course, I cannot overemphasize, nor can I, if at all I have a duty, cannot resist having to mention that reality of the dismembering scenario of an individual. Different parts of the place, they would put parts of that particular body. And that has been associated with the Latin American gangs, not just in Venezuela, but certainly in Brazil and Mexico, etc. And connected, of course, to drugs, cocaine in particular. So we should be doing some reading, and as I said, not just introspection, but also within our houses. Our own country must be encapsulated, if you want to call it the blood of the lamb, or protected or isolated from this unsavory development that is not only harrowing, but as I said earlier, provides Trinidad with the apt description of being a Russian roulette society where anybody could find themselves at the wrong side of a gun or lose their lives and not being part of whatever caused that life to be shortened. And as the Guyanese said, he's afraid to come here. But not only him. All of the advisories against Trinidad and Tobago across the globe is that don't come Trinidad. You will appreciate why the government has not been able to get any direct foreign investment into Trinidad, except of course except for the oil and gas and petrochemical industry. And even in such circumstance, their policies and programs have been able to almost empty to a large degree Point Lisas, which depends, of course, for its operation by and large as a fuel, gas, natural gas, and as an ingredient for the production of ammonia or fertilizer. Yeah, as a feeding stock for their operations. And 11 of them, since Rowley has come into office, that has left the country, consequential of his so-called being a what? The number one spokesman or salesman for Trinidad and Tobago. When he went in his first mission abroad to Texas, and he said, spoke to the shakers and movers of the major companies in Trinidad, BP, Shell, etc., and tell them that he wants more for the gas that they are extracting. Well, that meant more to the operators of plants in Point Lisas, and the rest is now history. They have left because it was not profitable, it was prohibitive, and it started, of course, with what? Yeah, the iron and steel mill that he is now, of course, searching all over the globe, and people who he would not have associated with, he's now associating in order to try to salvage, to gain that which is lost. But I like the old people saying that there are two things that usually are not recoverable. Age goes up and don't come back down, and they say smoke as well. It goes up and don't come back down. You can glean from that analogy. And of course, lost opportunities, as is in the case of Trinidad and Tobago on a regular basis by the misappropriation of ideas, policies, programs, the poor implementation thereof, and of course, a cadre of individuals who have commandeered government in this country, and they have, of course, engaged in what is called nepotism and cronyism, avarice to the core, and of course engage in their self-aggrandizement and their self-development at the expense of the masses. That is not just ominous, but a horrendous brew that could only spell disaster for Trinidad and Tobago, led by a total criminal, a rapist and a pedophile called Keith Christopher Rowley, without a doubt. Let's go hopefully to the conclusion of this video, because we have already touched 10 o'clock. I said that we would have finished 9, but that is how duty causes one to express himself or to be so dedicated that time is irrelevant. It's just a factor.
The future of democracy even more uncertain. The opposition aimed to revive an economy that had been battered by decades of mismanagement and corruption. Venezuela's gross domestic product, GDP, had shrunk by nearly 3/4, pushing tens of millions into poverty and driving millions more to leave the country. Over 80% of Venezuelans lived in poverty, and almost 70% of hospitals lacked basic services and medical supplies. Though 6 months of US sanctions relief boosted oil revenues, it wasn't enough to push production over 1 million barrels per day. While González Urrutia hadn't yet presented a formal economic plan, he aligned himself with privatizing state-owned companies, including the oil industry. He also supported the shift to renewable energy, planned to seek loans from international organizations to help with Venezuela's massive $150 billion debt, and aimed to evaluate operations at the state oil company while addressing the environmental and social issues caused by the country's mining industry. Maduro winning the election meant that it was likely that millions more Venezuelans would have joined the nearly 8 million already living abroad. A May poll by a Venezuelan firm suggested that about 40% of Venezuelans, around 10 million people, many of them young, were considering leaving the country, with most heading to neighboring countries.
Understand the problem for Trinidad,
toward the United States. In 2023, more than 328,000 Venezuelans had crossed the Darien Gap, a treacherous forest route between Colombia and Panama, on their way to the US border. Since October 2019, US Customs and Border Protection had encountered upwards of 800,000 Venezuelan migrants at legal entry points. Over 450,000 had arrived in the United States since 2021, many under temporary protected status, humanitarian parole, or refugee status, allowing them to stay in the country for months or even years. No one likes an authoritarian government, especially one that has subjected them to a life of penury and bondage. However, Nicolas Maduro wouldn't have been able to lead such a cruel government if he didn't have world powers standing with him. Let's take a look at some of them. Global powers standing with Maduro. Nicolás Maduro Moros, born on November 23, 1962, is the current president of Venezuela, having taken office in 2013. Before stepping into the presidency, he was quite active in the Venezuelan political scene. He served as vice president from 2012 to 2013, was the Minister of Foreign Affairs from 2006 to 2012, and led the National Assembly as its third president from 2005 to 2006. His journey into politics wasn't exactly traditional. Maduro started his career working as a bus driver before moving into trade unions. It wasn't long before he made his way into the National Assembly in 2000. Under President Hugo Chavez, Maduro held several important roles, including being the president of the National Assembly and later the Minister of Foreign Affairs. By 2012, he was serving as vice president, setting the stage for his eventual presidency. Upon the death of Chavez on 5th March 2013, Maduro became acting president. A special presidential election was held later that year, and Maduro was declared the winner with 50.62% of the vote as the candidate of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. He has ruled by decree since 2015, with powers granted by the legislature of the ruling party. Shortages and a decline in living standards ignited protests across the country in 2014, which swelled into daily marches in dozens of cities and towns. This unrest was met with brutal repression, which sent Maduro's approval ratings crashing. In 2015, the opposition party took control of the National Assembly, and by 2016, there was a movement to recall Maduro. That effort was quashed by his government. Today, Maduro remains in power thanks to the backing of the Supreme Tribunal the National Electoral Council, and the military. All hell broke loose in 2017 when the Supreme Tribunal deprived the National Assembly of its powers, bringing the country into a new constitutional crisis and causing a new round of protests. Maduro called for the writing of a new constitution, and the Constituent Assembly was elected with voting conditions that many found dubious. And then on 20th of May 2018, Maduro won a new presidential election, which, predictably, was widely denounced. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, former Argentine President Mauricio Macri, and former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, among others, openly called him a dictator and blamed him for the deteriorating situation in Venezuela. Maduro continued the legacy of his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, by accusing others of plotting to overthrow him. His government exposed dozens of plots against them in the 15 months after his election, including alleged assassination and coup attempts. It wasn't until early 2015 that Maduro began to accuse the United States of trying to overthrow him, at which point Maduro's government took a few steps to convince the public that these threats were real. This included the arrest of Antonio Ledesma, former deputy of the National Congress of Venezuela, restrictions on travel for American tourists, and the first ever military marches and public exercises in Venezuela's history. When the US government responded by placing sanctions on 7 Venezuelan officials for violating human rights, Maduro used anti-US rhetoric to boost his approval ratings, though only a quarter of Venezuelans believed the alleged coup attempts to be real. During Maduro's first term from 2013 to 2018, a staggering 115 media outlets were shut down, 41 print outlets, 65 radio stations, and 9 TV channels were taken off the air, and it didn't stop there. In just the first 7 months of 2019, the Press and Society Institute of Venezuela documented at least 350 cases where freedom of expression was violated. Things took a more serious turn when a board of independent experts set up by the Organization of American States, OAS, released a hefty 400-page report in 2018. The report laid out some shocking claims. It concluded that crimes against humanity had been committed in Venezuela during Maduro's presidency. The board suggested that Maduro could be held responsible for dozens of murders, thousands of extrajudicial executions, over 12,000 arbitrary detentions, and more than 290 cases of torture. On top of all this, they pointed to attacks on the judiciary and a state-sanctioned humanitarian crisis that affected hundreds of thousands of people. So how did Nicolas get away with this for so long? Who are the people actually backing him and fueling his ego? Following the result of the 2024 election and the subsequent announcement of Nicolas as the winner of the election, a lot of countries, the US especially, have kicked against the result. But countries like China and Russia have congratulated Nicolas on his victory. President Xi Jinping has given strong backing to Nicolas Maduro, promising that Beijing will firmly support Venezuela's efforts to protect its national sovereignty, dignity, and social stability. Antulio Rosales, an assistant professor at York University, explains that China favors a stable Venezuela, and right now they see Maduro as the best option for that stability. Even if Maduro remains in power through non-democratic means, China believes he offers the most reliable chance for stability. Evan Ellis, a research professor at the US Army War College, points out that China's significant investment is another big reason. China has had a long-standing relationship with Venezuela since the early 2000s, first as a strategic partner under Hugo Chavez, and then upgrading that relationship to an all-around comprehensive strategic partnership under Maduro last year. Last September, Maduro and Xi announced their country's relationship had been upgraded to an all-weather strategic partnership, the highest level of cooperation between two nations. China now has a massive loan portfolio with Venezuela, holding nearly half of all Chinese loans to Latin America and the Caribbean. It's estimated that China has financed over $60 billion in projects in Venezuela. In return, China gets important resources from Venezuela, such as crude oil and minerals, through an oil-for-loan arrangement. It makes one wonder why any country would be supportive of Nicolas's government. That man has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. Do you know that Maduro has been accused of narco-terrorism and is currently under the radar of the US Department of Justice? In 2020, several leading Venezuelan officials, including the current president Nicolas Maduro, the vice president for the economy, the minister of defense, and the chief Supreme Court justice, were indicted in New York City, in Washington, D.C., and in Miami. Some current and former Venezuelan government officials and the two leaders of the Fuerzas Armadas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia (FARC) were also named in the announcement of the charges. These defendants were charged with conspiring to flood American communities with tens of thousands of kilos of cocaine and causing a public health crisis across the country. The announcement was about the deep corruption within the Venezuelan government, a system designed to enrich those at the top. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman in 2020 said these words, "Today, we announce criminal charges against Nicolas Maduro Moros for running, together with his top lieutenants, a narco-terrorism partnership with the FARC for the past 20 years. Despite all of these sanctions, criminal charges, public opinions that show he is not liked by his own people, Nicolas Maduro is not backing down, and one begins to wonder what the future holds for him and the people of Venezuela." What the future holds. By the end of Election Day in Venezuela, one observer for the opposition asked a poll worker for a copy of the vote tally for the station he was charged with monitoring. He was denied, and when he pressed the issue and insisted that he had the right to the copy, a soldier grabbed him by the arm, took him to the bathroom, and locked him in. The observer was not freed until all of the people had left the polling station. Outside, another man passed him a slip of paper. It was a person at the polling center who had printed out an extra copy of the tally during the chaos, telling the observer not to tell anyone he had given him that piece of paper. The observer took a picture of the QR code on the tally and then sent it via an encrypted messaging app to his team. Next, he headed to a nearby house where other volunteers were busy digitizing copies of the tallies they had collected. Scenes like this repeated themselves across the country that Sunday night as tens of thousands of opposition volunteers executed a plan that laid bare the actual results of the election. Maduro had received 51.21% of the vote, the NCE had declared, and his rival Edmundo Gonzalez had received 44.2%. But within 48 hours, the opposition coalition claimed that their candidate had actually won, and they had the data to prove it. In the preceding months, the opposition had managed to collect more than 83% of the voting tallies, which showed a very different story. Maduro's share of the vote was only around 30%, while Gonzalez had received 67%. Mass protests began on Monday of that week, with people banging pots and pans, filled with anger that the government had cheated and demanding an immediate vote audit. In Caracas, reporters videotaped dozens of National Guard soldiers in riot gear attacking mostly peaceful protests with tear gas and batons. One protester was shown on video surrounded by uniformed officers slapping him on the head while holding him under an overpass. One demonstrator who asked not to be named told journalists they just want the war to stop. They want peace for Venezuela and for their families. The Maduro government controls the Electoral Council and the armed forces and holds sway over most other institutions of state. In 2019, a similar campaign against the government resulted in more than 50 fatalities and hundreds of arrests. So, the situation in Venezuela is heating up, with the government going after two opposition leaders, Edmundo Gonzalez and Maria Corina Machado. They've been accused of trying to get the military to turn against President Nicolas Maduro and of challenging his claim of winning the election. The US is also backing their position, saying the election results are questionable. Maria Corina Machado, who's speaking out from Venezuela, is clearly frustrated. Maduro still hasn't released the vote tallies, and that's causing a lot of tension. When she was asked about her safety, she didn't shy away from admitting that she and her family are scared. Things are pretty intense. She even shared that a young woman who was coordinating efforts to protect the vote was abducted by the regime's forces and has disappeared. Over 1,500 people have been arrested and 24 Venezuelans have lost their lives just for peacefully protesting and wanting a better future for their country. And through all this, Maduro is refusing to step down, even though people are demanding he does. Let's take a look at other countries whose leaders were asked to step down and they refused. For instance, in Gambia, when it was time for the 2016 presidential election, Yahya Jammeh did something that surprised everyone. Before the 2016 presidential election in Gambia, several opposition members, including the leader of the United Democratic Party, Ousseynou Darboe, were sentenced to 3 years in prison for holding pro-democracy protests. In a public speech, President Jammeh dismissed the opposition as being influenced by Western powers and firmly stated that he would not tolerate any challenges to his rule. The election on December 1st, 2016 brought a surprising result. Jammeh was defeated by Adama Barrow, who led a coalition of opposition parties. Initially, Jammeh accepted the outcome, but then did a complete turnaround on December 9th, rejecting the results, claiming there were irregularities. He even announced that he had cancelled the results and called for a new vote, filing a petition with the Supreme Court to contest the outcome. The court began hearing the case on December 21st, but Jammeh, who had previously removed most of the judges in 2015, appointed 6 new judges to the court. The hearing was scheduled for January 10th, but it got delayed until May. Meanwhile, ECOWAS stepped in, warning that they would take military action to to enforce the election results if Jammeh didn't step down by January 19th. Jammeh insisted he would only give up the presidency if the court sided with the election results. The African Union announced that it would no longer recognize Jammeh as president after January 19th, 2017. Just days before that deadline, on January 17th, Jammeh declared a 90-day state of emergency, banning protests and anything that could cause unrest. This move caused several ministers to resign and forced around 46,000 civilians, most of them children, to flee the country. On January 18th, Senegal, chosen by ECOWAS to lead the effort to remove Jammeh, positioned its troops closer to the Gambian border. Jammeh was given a final warning to step down by midnight, but he refused, and the deadline passed. The next day, Senegalese troops entered the Gambia. The United Nations Security Council supported Barrow, who had won the election, and endorsed ECOWAS's efforts to resolve the crisis peacefully, though they were ready to take action if needed. Senegal paused its military advance to allow for one last attempt at mediation, with the threat of resuming the invasion by noon on January 20th if Jammeh still refused to leave power. Jammeh missed 2 more deadlines on January 20th, as regional leaders continued to press him to step aside. Finally, in the early hours of January 21st, Jammeh announced on state television that he was stepping down. He left the country later that day, heading first to Guinea and then to Equatorial Guinea. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on any of the cards on your screen for more enjoyable content. The world has always kept a close watch on Venezuela's elections, especially in 2013, 2018, and now 2024. Each of these elections has been filled with its own share of drama.
Yes, people, and of course that signaled the coming of the end of tonight's program. I trust that you enjoyed it. I hope that you noted several similarities here between what transpired, not just in Venezuela, or transpiring in Venezuela, but other parts of the globe, where of course people, prime ministers, presidents refused to step down. They changed the constitution. Notice that in the case of Venezuela as well as in the case of the Gambia. They utilized the army and the law enforcement to pursue their nefarious agenda. And what I think is significant, as you notice in the case of the Venezuela, where the head of the judiciary there is also indicted by the United States for drug trafficking or drug matters, and that is the person who delivered the decision that Maduro won the election. Just imagine that. We see a similar situation in Trinidad, where the judges, when they make decisions against the government, they are criticized. In fact, it was the lame duck Minister of National Security, this fellow called Hines, who said that the criminals have partners or friends in the judiciary, which triggered, of course, incensed judiciary and the particular judge that was in fact gave rise to that assertion. Of course, the coward that these fellas are, they invited him, of course, to explain, and he never did because it was optional. But we cannot take away the fact that they believe that they are above the law, as we have seen in the example of Gambia, and of course that of an unfolding in Venezuela. We have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. We will, of course, continue tomorrow night. It's already 19 minutes past 10 o'clock. So far for our 1 hour program. That has gone through the roof and outside the door, so to speak, and through the window. But have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless until I see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, when of course we'll have another 1 hour program that may well turn into 2 hours. Bye bye. And all the contributors, don't forget to share. And of course, ask your friend to watch tonight's program, as it will be recorded, of course, on the various platforms. That is to say, on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, the Corridor Transformation on Facebook, and Love Until on YouTube. Once again, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye bye.
People been seen. I met in a party. She was looking irene, so I start to chat she. She said, "Listen, Mr. Southman, if you're looking for some action, well, it's me alone in this bed. If you want to dance the next set, come on," she said, "rock me, Booty, come rock me. Don't stop," she said, "rock me, body, Booty, come rock me, body." But I want you to understand, she said to me, that we now want no other man. So seriously, and I want you, want them woman. Tell them for me, that we now want no confusion. And then she said, rock me, Booty, come rock me. Don't stop, she said, pan me belly, Booty, rock pan me belly. Hey.
DJ Slug.
When I picked you up, you was like the